This is Rock Leach with Social Fire. Now, there's a big problem going on in Texas. Now, Texas is my home state, specifically from Tyler, Texas. But Texas have pastors who are stepping down and getting fired. And it looks to be an epidemic. I mean, they're up to 12, 13, and 15 just this year. Looks like for Texas, it is the year of exposure. You don't want to miss this video. Now, there have been several things that have been coming across the news about pastors stepping down. Now, we do know about Dr. Tony Evans, him being there in Texas, and Pastor Robert Morris, who is there in Texas. But did you know that Gateway since Robert Morris, there have been 3 other pastors that have stepped down and resigned at that same church. So they're up to 4 pastors that have jumped ship or been told to leave. Y'all, it's getting crazy over here. Texas, I knew Houston, that from the NASA thing, Houston, we have a problem, but Texas, we got a problem. We got more than a problem. We got a crisis that's going on over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play this and allow one of the reports to play that's coming from Texas talking about this. And I want you to pay attention to what's going on here. This is crazy. This is crazy. Let's go.
It's been an interesting year so far for churches in Texas. 8 pastors have either been fired or stepped down from their positions. Here's a look at some of them. In June, Pastor Tony Evans resigned from Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship Church in Dallas, saying he committed a sin. Leaving it at that. Gateway Church has lost 4 pastors in 2 months, including Robert Morris and Kimto Glasgow. Morris stepped down after allegations he molested a 12-year-old girl in the 80s when it came to light. That 12-year-old girl, who is now a woman, was on the Factor Uncensored just 2 weeks ago telling her story. And in Frisco, Pastor Tony Camarada was fired from Stonebriar Church, Community Church, after admitting to a moral failure. The question is, what the hell is going on? What the hell is going on? Joining us to talk.
Now, listen, I know I repeated that because it's a problem. This is a problem. And so our team, we knew and wanted to make this an even larger story. So we're just going to do it like this. And then we're going to step into several of them. I get people all the time sending me things of pastors caught up into different things. And because I believe in redemption, because I believe in restoration, we're not quick to jump on every story. But when you have this many leaders, I'm not kidding. It is really this many leaders. It's interesting that they use this particular thumbnail, but look at this. It's more than that. It's more than that. If y'all look at the thumbnail for this video, it's more than that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and talk about each one of them specifically and talk about what happened. Now, I'm not going to get to all of them. I mean, it's all kind of stuff from pastors soliciting undercover cops with $150, soliciting them for sex. I mean, this is crazy. And that same church where that pastor did that was the executive pastor that did that. But the senior pastor is under scrutiny because of inappropriate relationships with women. Y'all, listen, now I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this, and it was said on one of our on our podcast by Elder Reverend Donna Thomas. She said, whether we know it or not and accept it or not, the church is sexually active. But here's the problem. There are so many people who are doing this wrong. Sexual immorality is terrible. And this is what the enemy looks to be using. Is this a sign of the great falling away? Y'all know the great falling away that's talked about in 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3. Is this a part of it? We've got the Diddy case going on and people falling victim to that. And there are 38 names allegedly attached to that we've been getting information on that's going to be prominent pastors. Now, it's not these pastors that I'm bringing up according to what we know so far, because their sins or crimes or different things like that have been put out into the opening already. But supposedly there are 38 that are not known yet. Christian leaders, prominent leaders. I want to also say this, that these pastors are mega church pastors. I mean, do y'all, these These are mega church pastors. These are mega church pastors. And so I'm going to go ahead and get into this because it's a lot that's going on here. with all that's going on. So let's look at this. Let's look at this. One of the first passages that I want to talk about here is let me go ahead and make sure I got all my information together because it's right here. So much to talk about. So the first one that I want to talk about is Pastor Ronald Goins. Now, Pastor Ronald Goins, and if you look at this, I'm gonna make sure I blow this up so you all can see everything. But Pastor Ronald Goins right here, was arrested on July the 25th. One count of indecent assault and one count of sexual assault. Now, this man is 51 years old. Now, I do remember him. I remember him from when he talked to his church about, being divorced, going through divorce. Now, this is what's going on here with him. And beautiful church, big church, and they didn't have to get another pastor because he got caught up into this right here, y'all. It's a problem in Texas. Y'all got to tell me what's going on in Texas. Oh, Lord, what is going on in Texas? So let's go to the next one right here. We've got Pastor, of course, y'all know Reverend Dr. Tony Evans. Now, he stepped down because of old sin. Now, our sources, said that it allegedly might be, that there was a child in his past and that child has finally turned 18 and something, it could be something like that. I don't know. And if it is that, I'm thinking, man, just say you had a baby and back in your day, and then take care of the baby, write him a check and invite him in your life. This could be so much. If this is the case, this could be so much of a healing thing for so many people that have strained relationships because of moments of temporary insanity. Let's call it what it is. And because of a renewed place of grace and forgiving, you move on. Listen, that'd be so many great books. That'd be so much great content. And so much of a blessing if you just go ahead and be transparent and let us know that's what's going on, if that indeed is the case of what's going on. And y'all all know Dr. Tony Evans right here. This is his beautiful church. Dr. Tony Evans is no longer there. No longer there. All right. So let's go on to the next one right here. Is going to be in Texas. Now, these are all Texas pastors. This is Pastor Taryn Dames, look like. Pastor Dames there. Pastor there in North Dallas community. And now listen, this is a pastor, and I want to get into what he actually did here. Now it looks like he's a senior pastor. He was arrested in May for solicitation of prostitution, according to Collin County jail records. Now, it make me wonder if he was married, and I'm gonna blow this up so y'all can make sure y'all can see it. Y'all might recognize him down in the left hand corner. But for solicitation of a prostitute, y'all, I hate when these kind of things happen, but looks like most of these are around sexual immorality. That's what it looks like, except for Tony Evans. He didn't say specifically what his was specifically. Now, that pastor there, looking at his situation, the Plano police said on May 2nd, Dames called an undercover officer offering $150 for sex, and then he arrived. Lord, man, why? Okay, so he arrived at the hotel, and they got pictures of this brother at the hotel, and this is. I'm laughing, but this is sad. This is sad. This is sad. This is sad. So they got pictures of him at the hotel. He didn't call, and solicited prostitution from an undercover police. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Sin is sin. That's what it is. So let's go to the next one right here. Now, this is Pastor Tony Camarada. All right. And what happened here specifically with this brother, let me blow it up so y'all can see him here. Now, what happened specifically with this brother here with Tony looks like, let's see here. He's pastor of the Stormbriar Community Church in Frisco for 17 years. And he was fired for confessing to moral failure. Now, remember, I talked about that transparency and that accountability. A lot of time they'll blanket it with moral failure or an old sin like Tony Evans did. And but the church sent out emails, and most of these churches, mega churches, going to send out emails to folk and tell them, like this church did, please guard against giving the devil any foothold for more damage to our church through unnecessary speech and speculation. Listen, sin is sin, and you can't stop folk from talking. That's what's going to happen. I don't know why we believe that just because we send an email out and want to make it spooky for people, that they just not gonna talk. Folk gonna say what they gonna say. It is what it is. Folk gonna talk. Your email not gonna stop folk from talking. And I have several instances of other churches, we even got some of the emails here that have been sent out to some of these churches, sent out to members at churches, because what'll happen whenever there's some kind of failure or falling into sin, it usually becomes the church versus the pastor. They don't want to look good. They don't want to, the church doesn't want to look bad. So what they'll do is they'll distance themselves from a pastor who they the day before said they loved. I'm just saying. And you know that it is what it is. All right. So we got the next one right here, and this is going to be Josiah Anthony at Cross Timbers. Then all these are Texas pastors, and all of these are mega church pastors who were found in these things. And this brother here, just looking at this, it's Cross Timbers Church. Now, he was the lead pastor there, and he resigned in late July. Now, what he did was he was talking. One of the elders got up and spoke and said the board had become aware of events and circumstances. That's what they called it, events and circumstances with Anthony that occurred over the past few years. Now, looks like he resigns because they said that he was having hurtful and inappropriate actions. Basically, this was around some women that he was supposedly inappropriate conversation with and different things of that nature. Now, I'm kind of looking at this like, because in our culture, and I'm talking about you, in our culture, where's the proof? Because you got folk that can just step out there. And how do pastors, we're going to get into those questions, how do pastors protect themselves from false allegations? Because it becomes a thing of image. Everything now in this generation is name, image, and likeness. And so people are always concerned about the brand, especially the church. Pastors are good until the brand becomes affected. Now you have a problem where you have pastors who have a brand and the church have a brand. And I'm just saying, people can always try to tell you what to preach and what not to preach based on what's a good look and what's not a good look. Y'all think I'm playing with a lot of these churches got a lot of these things going on, and pastors can't be truly spirit-led anymore. And they're basically a dog on a leash. Ooh, that sounded bad. But that is so much of the truth. So this right here was inappropriate conversations with different women and different things of the nature. Now, y'all know with Robert Morris, we all know Robert Morris here and all the things that happened with Robert Morris, because it came down to something he did years earlier in ministry, and his younger years. And the lady became an adult and started sharing all the things that happened, and there was a sexual inappropriate behavior. And the lady's name was Cindy Clemenshire, and she accused him of sexually abusing her when she was 12 years old, and said it started in 1982 and continued for nearly 5 years. That is crazy, but that is the reality of these allegations that were, coming towards Robert Morris, from her. He did this for so many years. I mean, this is terrible. This is terrible. But these kind of things, it's almost like, how do you vet a pastor? And I'm going to get into those questions. How do you vet a pastor to know those kind of things before they come up? Because that is a terrible thing. That's a terrible thing. All right. And so let's go to the next one here. Let's go who we got here. We got Luke Cunningham. Now, Luke Cunningham is part of the Lakeside Baptist. I don't know why that sounded like Bedside Baptist, but Lakeside Baptist Church in Granbury. Now, let me blow this up so y'all could see him. Now, what happened is that Lakeside Baptist Church issued a statement in early June that it had suspended. Now, he's a youth pastor, and they suspended him, Luke Cunningham, after learning of allegations of sexual assault against a minor at a church where he previously served. Okay, so this looks like allegation of a child, and yeah, and so even down here, yeah, I'm just looking over the email that they sent out, y'all. These are all bad things, and I hope that allegation is not true against him. If it is true, there's a special place in hell for him. But all of these are just sexual immorality. I don't want to say that one sin is greater than the other. I just hate to hear about anything violating a child's innocence. But this is something that's bad. Now, Texas got a problem here because you got all these pastors who are, uh, falling away. This is the great falling away in Texas. Now, we got another state that's on deck as well, because I'm just saying it's got a lot of pastors who quit and going. I want to know, if you get in the comments, if you think you know what church it is, what state it is that these things are happening in. But I've got a few questions. I got a few questions that I want to ask you. Number one, what transparency is expected of church leaders during controversy? How transparent do you want them to be? How transparent should they be? Now, I know I have several pastors on here, and I have several people who are on boards of churches that are here. But how transparent do you expect them to be? Because think about it. Everybody fill out job applications, and they're going to ask you about your last 3 jobs, and you didn't had about 6 past jobs. So you're going to pick out the ones that's good, and then you find out, later on, somebody, once you've been working and done got good, people find out you did somebody wrong at them. I'm just saying, that's how transparent do people expect you to be in these instances? I mean, what transparency is expected? I want y'all to jump in the comments and let me know what transparency is expected of church leadership during controversies, because sometimes the church board is hiding stuff because they done did something. Because I saw an instance of a video where the church board just didn't. It was like 2 people that didn't like the pastor, and those 2 people manipulated the whole situation to force the pastor out because they personally did not like him. And that's a real thing. That's a real thing. So how much transparency? And I believe what saved that pastor was getting up on a Sunday and just putting it all on the table. Now you got the members that are like, no, that can't work. Y'all 2 people can't choose it for everybody. All right. So that's one thing, that one question. I have another question that I want to ask you, which is, how do pastors' actions influence faith and trust of their congregation? And the reason that I'm asking this question is because once a pastor falls into sin, and especially if it's something from his past that comes out, now the membership is wondering, the judgment of those who hired him is now in question. How didn't y'all see this? And then how do those actions influence the faith and trust of the congregants? You got people who are, they'll be in love with the leader. I appreciate him, got saved in this ministry. Thank God for him. Then when they find out that he's a failure, now the whole question on Christianity itself is in question. I mean, the whole faith is shaken. And so I believe, I want y'all to answer that for me. How do pastors' actions influence the faith and trust of their congregation? I believe it influences it greatly, but I want y'all to go into details for me. All right. I want to ask you this. What safeguards are in place to hold pastors accountable, and are they effective? Because we got a great falling away in Texas. These are mega churches. When I say mega churches, I'm quite sure there are several attorneys involved with most of their hiring process or background checks, investigators, and all those kind of things. But what should they have? What safeguards should be in place to hold pastors accountable? Hold them accountable, and are they effective? I want y'all to talk about it. If you're a church leader down there and you know some things that y'all do, put it down there. Put it out. You don't have to even say your name. All right, just or it's inbox me. And if y'all have emails, y'all want to email me, just email me at rockleach@socialfire.org. All right, let's go to the next question right here. All right, how should churches balance grace and discipline when dealing with moral failures of leadership? I'm just saying. You had one pastor on here, I didn't get to him, who was let go because he looked at something. They said he looked at something inappropriate on Instagram. I'm like, wait a minute. Looked at something inappropriate on Instagram. So I'm thinking that he was scrolling and something inappropriate popped up. Now, y'all know that's all. If you own the internet, you can't control everything. Sometimes the algorithm want to serve you some ignorant, and you got to say no. I'm just saying. But how do you fire somebody for that? And now, just to be a little bit more clear with it, when I looked into it, found out that he, was looking at this on this inappropriate thing on church computer. And so if he was doing that, I'm like, why are you on Instagram on the church computer? I'm just saying, man, keep that on your phone. And now I'm not justifying any kind of sin or anything like that. I don't know why that is, but they let him go. He had to step down because of that. Each church is Each church has different guidelines, strictness, rules, uh, uh, disciplines that they expect you to abide by. And I think most of those things have to be said upon hiring you, because some churches, when they hire you, they want to know your credit history. They want to know your credit. They want to see your credit report. All right. So next thing here is, and last thing is, what role does congregational support play in the restoration of fallen leaders? I'm asking this because we'll fire them and then ban them from the property and the premises of people who they have loved and supported. And I think what's dangerous here is that when you do those kind of things, you're in danger of another church starting across the street with that same pastor, and you lose and have your congregation. So, not saying that because we need to stay away from that. We need to look at that and be aware that those kind of things happen. Some of the churches that you go to right now were actually birthed from a split, or a faction of that church branching off and starting their own ministry. If we're going to be real about it, that happens all the time. But what role does congregational support play in the restoration of a fallen leader? I want y'all to give me your details with that question down there, and I want you to answer it down in the comments. But what's going on in Texas, y'all? And what city, what state do you think is on board with other pastors that are falling away? What state is going at this rate with pastors falling away? I want to know. And I'm really hurt. I'm not really hurt, but it's just eye-opening, because I believe that this is a sign of the great falling away that's talked about in 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3, that we have so many pastors who are from the same state who are now falling away. I mean, they've stepped down, got fired. I mean, all of this. And it's, y'all, I'm saying it's up to the level of 16 pastors. Is this truly the year of exposure? Is this truly the year of exposure? I heard that, and it's 2024, and we're not even out the year. And Texas have had more pastors this year that we know of, because we don't know if there are any other pastors that may not have been mega pastors that was told to get out of Dodge. We can't do it no more, or have stepped down. All right. I want to know your thoughts. Jump in the comments and let me know what you think. Let's go.